It's a pleasure to be here today. My name is Adiola Olalemi. I'm from New Hampshire Capital. We're the consultants in this matter. So I'm just going to give like a brief overview of what New Hampshire Capital does and how we're coming to play in this situation. So New Hampshire Capital is an asset financing and management company in the power sector. What we do is try to see how we can finance, whether it is power supply, acquisition, or maybe you want to do generation, maybe there's an area that does not have supply and they need like wires to be run. We do that financing for them. Now we have an initiative called the Electricity Cooperative, and this is it's an initiative that we have brought about to be able to help communities that don't have power supply. They don't have wires from the distribution lines. They don't have enough distribution wiring, or they don't even have distribution wiring at all. So underserved communities, unserved communities, communities that probably even served but are not getting power, like this community now, you have wires but you are not getting power. So what we do is, typically when like the situation that you had previously was that somebody was basically contracting on your behalf to get power from you.
Yes.
But now what we do is electricity cooperative is power by the people, for the people, and of the people. So basically is you that will come together, you form a cooperative. A cooperative is not a new idea. People form cooperatives for whether it's women cooperative or cooperative to raise money to send children to different reasons that you can form cooperative. So now that you are even already a community, it's easier to form a cooperative. When you form that when you form that cooperative, the goal of the cooperative will now be for electricity for the community. The reason why this is good for community, or this idea has been done in different countries in Africa, across the world, because you find out that if people come from outside to bring you power, many times the pricing, even the longevity of it is challenging, because sometimes the price will be too high, the community cannot afford it. Sometimes maintenance, like the situations that you have raised, the problems you have raised, where they are collecting money for maintenance but nobody is maintaining the wires. They are collecting tariff from you that is very high, but you don't even know where the money is going to. They are collecting money for debt servicing, but you don't even know if that debt is actually being serviced. So all these things are things that you avoid when you have a cooperative that is being formed by the community. What we're proposing now is that members from your different associations, it could be members from, like the way we've had different associations talk about what the problem is. So maybe elders, the youths, the women will come together, form the cooperative. This cooperative will be a governing body. That governing body will now be the one that will start to interface with all these companies, like for example now EKDP will start to interface with them on your behalf to get electricity for you. So they will be the ones in charge of the negotiation. They will be the ones in charge of, if there's a debt servicing, the debt service. They will be the ones in charge of maintenance. There will be transparency because there will be bylaws. Those bylaws will be the rules and the regulations that will guide the activities of the cooperative, how money will be collected, how money will be spent, who would give approval for the spending of a particular amount of money. If you are sending out over 1 million, who has to sign? Those type of things, the bylaws would have that set out. So you're not just doing things anyhow. There is a set of rules and regulations that will guide it. The people that will be elected, that will be put into those positions, will be people that will be elected by the people. So that way you have oversight. The way where we come in is that we're doing a hand holding. We're going to create a platform for you where people can now buy power from the EKD, the disco. So typically if the disco wants to supply power to, let's say, an estate, now you need to have like a company that can be the intermediary, and that's why you have all these companies that will come and say, oh, they want to supply bulk power. So those bulk power companies, you are going to now be a representative of that bulk power company, where you are standing in the gap for your community to go as a cooperative. Possibly you might even have to incorporate an actual company. That's where we come in, helping you guide on what you need to do. You probably have to incorporate an actual company that will now go and say, okay, this is who we are, these are the number of houses that we have. This is the number of consumption that we do on a daily basis. This is our peak consumption. This is our lowest consumption. This is how much power we need from you. Then you will now negotiate the tariff. Wow. You're not going to negotiate a tariff that is going to be for profit making, because it's a cooperative. Cooperative is non-profit. You are coming together because you are seeking the good of the members of that cooperative. It's not a company that is trying to make profit. It's an association that is trying to advance the interest of its members. So when you go to meet them, then there will be a negotiation on the amount of tariff that you are going to be taking that power from. And then you will now put in maintenance costs based on transparent entries. You're not just going to be pulling numbers from the sky. There will be proper iterations of the things that are going into maintenance costs, operations costs. If there are salaries to pay, then you will now agree on a tariff that works for the community. Because if you agree on a tariff and it does not work for the community, there's already a challenge, because nobody will pay and it defeats the purpose. So you will now agree on a tariff that works for the community, and then you will now put measures in place to ensure that there is no bypassing. That this, because this is not like, we had spoken to a community in Rivers State prior to now, and their own is, they actually had a CDA community where the CDA had an electricity committee. And that electricity committee was in charge of monitoring the lines. From time to time, they had youths that will go around, monitor the lines, ensure that there is no bypassing, ensure that they are able to collect money from people if there need to be payments. That if somebody is defaulting, that you are able to hold that person to come and pay, or if there's a need to disconnect, then they will have to disconnect. But because of the electricity cooperative, there's no need to disconnect, because now you're going to be having meters per household. So when you have meters, it means that it's going to be a prepaid situation. You are paying for the electricity that you are being given. So if you don't buy the electricity, you cannot have electricity. There's no need to disconnect, because it's no longer going to be an estimated billing. So every household will have meter based on how they can afford it. So if it's like we're classifying a group of houses as a household and that they can pay for 1 meter, we can do that. So there's not, for the electricity cooperative, there is no structure that is set in stone. Everything is going to be reiterated and iterated based on how your community is, based on what you can afford, based on how your community works, so that we don't now bring a structure that after 1 year or after even a few months is no longer working, or is no longer feasible for your community. So that's where we come in. And basically the first step that will now be done in, like, to be able to onboard your community in the electricity cooperative will be first to do an enumeration, because we first need to know all the amount of people that are in the community, the amount of households, the amount of energy you are using, so that we can now have a proper idea of what is the amount of power that you need, so that we will now create a strategy for you to be able to now start to buy your power by yourself. So my colleague, that is our technical advisor, will now explain what the technical part of this would look like.
Yeah, thank you. I'll try.
Please, sorry, there's an attendance that is going around. Please do well to write down your name and information there. It's very important. Thank you. Please, if you have not written your name, please pass it around. Let people write their name. Thank you.
Good morning, esteemed members of Gota community. Quite frankly, we've had you, and to be very honest, most of the remarks are not very accurate.